Welcome, 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 powerful listeners. I wanted to try and play a pump you up music to this, but I'm very mobile today in my mobile office truck. But I'm welcoming Batista Gremaud to the show today. And you guys, I've known Batista for about 2 years in October. It's currently September 2023. And her and I are both kind of startups and also not. And so Batista has been evolving her business at age 64 this year, coming into yet another level of expression and expansion and discomfort in that journey. And she is like this incredible badass with a portfolio that would take me multiple lifetimes to come anywhere near, and she's done it all. And so in the dance industry and the fitness industry and the living well industry, in fact, some of her marketing indicates that for being 64, she's actually more fit than people who are half her age or less, or more than half her age. So she's just phenomenal. And we're going to have another gorgeous conversation today around how she's kind of launching a bit of a new spin on what her business has been and what she's coming up against herself in that. And because Batista and I met through a container that just never ends, I don't want it to ever end. But our coach is really pushing her to now lean into this very more unknown side of herself with her intuitive gifts. And so we're just going to get into all of that gorgeousness in this conversation and see where it takes us. And I know that you'll find bits of brilliance and relatability in it. So welcome, pull up a chair or blanket or whatever you do to sit down and enjoy the show and welcome us in. Batista, over to you, hon.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here with you. You're such a light, and you're just the sweetest. And I'm really excited to have this conversation with you and see
Mm-hmm.
what comes out of it.
Yeah, like we often end up tapping into our own intuition and revealing gifts for ourselves. The application of insight can come through, and that is such a beautiful thing. And I know for me, it gets activated when I'm with somebody. So you guys, before we hit record, we were chit-chatting because Mariko, our coach, has told Batista to start going live, and Batista saying, I like to plan, I like to prepare, and I like to still use presentations. I'm like 1990s forever. So I totally get that. But it's an opportunity for us to express ourselves in a new way and experiment with that. So why don't you tell us a bit about, what's coming up for you in this new um, uh, area of business marketing, I guess I'll call it.
Yes, so of course, like I was explaining to you before you hit record, I am from a live performing background.
Yeah.
My background is in dance, ballet, flamenco, and I'm used to live stages, so my whole life was on stage going live. But
Yeah.
we didn't have the recordings and all this the technology that we have now. And of course, there's always the anxiety of something going wrong because you're live.
Yeah.
But you know what? After the show ends, right? And
Yeah.
as a matter of fact, I started dancing when I was 3 years old. I've had a really long career, and most of my career, I have almost no videos of any
Wow.
of the stuff that I've done in my whole life, which is kind of sad in a way, right? Now, in
Right?
retrospect, it'd be great to have. But, so we don't have memories of the beautiful things, but we don't have memories of the things that happen,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, sure.
the zipper getting undone in my
Mhm.
dress, the dress
Mhm.
falling on stage, or things like this.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
so uh, I I'm a person that always likes to plan and present myself in the best light possible. Okay, because when you go on stage, you have to. My parents
Practice for
always
months, right? Like you've rehearsed and practiced down to every single step.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's a lot of conditioning from age 3 to 64 is 61 years. That's your entire life.
absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was taught to respect the audience, that if you are on stage, it's a privilege
Mm,
be on stage. And if you have an audience, then you respect the audience and you give them the best that you have to give.
uh-huh.
And for me, that's my upbringing. Both my parents were artists, and now that I'm retired from dancing and I made this career transition, I feel the same way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fitness expert and I teach and I educate. And so now, if you like, the world is my stage, right?
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
when I go and I present a program, a concept, an article, I'm also a writer. That's my audience is, the world is my stage and my audience is my audience. And I have the same kind of approach, that I have to be the example. I have to be, walking the talk, basically.
Have a high level of decorum, of presentation, of like Rialto Hotel or like Hilton, like high level of performance, of elegance and perfectionism, even.
Yes. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, and that is, there's a fine line of perfectionism being a good thing or being an obstacle, right? Because it
Mm-hmm.
can also prevent you to doing things. So yeah, so these live things that we do now on all the social media, the Facebook, the TikTok, everybody's going live. People are going live in their underwear,
Yeah,
in their feet. I'm like, okay, not a.
it's been very easy because of the internet and the way that we can access each other now to share our message has been very easy to dilute this quality, this beautiful, honoring, respectful, kind of luxurious quality that you're describing. And so you don't want to cheapen yourself in any way. But you are finding that you're being coached to evolve that approach a little bit, right?
Yes.
And explore what that could look like. So this is beautiful because you can take all of those frameworks that are excellent um principles to operate from, and then start practicing them in a new way that's going to feel right for you. Because side note, our coaches will tell us to do things based typically on what they've experienced for success and what their clients have experienced for success. But you are still on your own journey. And this is maybe something you can speak to in the fitness world for the thousands of people that you've trained, how everybody just, there's a, like we all live in a house, but then the setup of the house is a little bit different. Same with the fitness plan, same with the implementation of what your coach would say.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that that's the next step, is finding that comfort within
Mm-hmm.
comfort, but really making it my own, even if it's
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, partially live or partially this, or I don't know exactly how it's going to look, but it's probably going to be very individual to me.
Well, and that's just the thing, right? Like that's exactly what it needs to be. So that to me is the actual embodiment of what we're being given, that it really becomes our own rather than following a precise recipe or instruction of somebody else. It's that critical thinking and that customization, and that the coach can serve as definitely the guiding light to bring clarity and logical action, but you don't have to necessarily be as precise as they may indicate. So what's that going to look like for you? You're preparing for a live this week. It'll be one of your first lives in your new. Tell us about, the evolution of your business to where you are and how this live, why it's different from things you've done in the past.
Okay, so listen, I've done lives on and off for the last 10 years, and somehow well, maybe not 10 years, I'm exaggerating, but maybe because I haven't even been online for 10 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I started this business 15 years ago, and I really started on social media maybe 10 years ago. So I've been doing lives maybe for 5 years on and off, and
Mhm.
I've never it never grew on me to something that I continue to do and that I'm comfortable with.
Mhm.
But I'm thinking that the idea is to the idea is to I like the idea of making a partial coaching online in
Mhm.
something like this. I feel like I've been educating and giving facts and writing and talking a lot from a scientific perspective, because maybe that was my journey when I came in this path of strength training, which was a new career for me. So basically I started this career in 2008, give or take,
Mhm.
from the world of dancing, and that was it was a career transition, and I was
Right.
already approaching 50 years old. So
Okay.
starting a new career at 50 when you don't know anything about it, it was just a really big learning curve. Okay,
And
but
changing modality, right? From like brick and mortar to digital, right?
it, not even that, from dancing to fitness.
Okay.
You can argue that dancing is kind of fitness, but when I met my husband now,
Yeah.
when I met him in 2008, I hired him because I had a lot of injuries and I didn't know
Mm.
how to heal my injuries. And
Mm.
like his conversation was so unique and different that I said, I've tried everything, but not this. So I'm going to do this. And this
Mhm.
is how I got involved with this business, because within 15
Mm.
days of working with him, my backache was gone, my shoulder injury was gone, all my injuries disappeared. I got my body back, and I said, why is this working the way it
Mhm.
is when I've done all these things, and I was still in pain? So to make a long story short, I married him.
He was so good.
He was so good. I married him, and then I
Oh, that's
decided,
cute.
I had my parents died, my business caught on fire, my dance studio. I had a lot of,
Literally, like literally, it caught on fire.
oh yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
literally,
Right.
literally.
Yeah. It was a real building. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was a real
Yeah.
building.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Oh, I even have pictures of that.
Yeah.
So I'm saying this because um, I wanted to know the facts, why what he does works and whatever I've been doing for my whole life didn't work. So I
Yeah.
did a lot of research, and this is why I've become a writer and prolific researcher, because I wanted to get the answers. I wanted to know why. So my conversation, and I had to learn everything from scratch. I became a personal trainer. I wanted to know the
Mhm.
difference between personal training and what he does, and this whole thing. So that this chunk of my career, okay, from
Mhm.
the time I began to now, has been a lot about educating myself
Right.
and then educating the audience
Mhm.
from an educational perspective, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I'm beyond that now.
Right.
Okay, I'm beyond, because I understand so well why it's working, and now it's become more intuitive, and it's
Mhm.
become more like going to the next level, because I don't. There's always research, and we can always learn more about the research and everything. But there is an inner transformation for me, going from even learning the skill myself
Mhm.
to now, okay, you know what? I am it. I,
You've arrived, like you're ready to put it
I,
into practice, right? Time to stop learning and use the
yeah,
knowledge.
it's like
Yeah.
I'm the proof in the pudding, right? I'm the,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I mean? I'm it.
Right.
Right? I mean, I got my life back. I got my youth back. I mean, I'm 64. I feel like I feel better than when I was in my 40s. As a matter of fact, I think I look better than when I was in my 40s. And I live the life. And now I think that the next step is really bringing all these things together into a new level, so that I don't come so much from the intellectual
Mhm.
version of my knowledge, but the experiential version of my knowledge. And I think, and thank you for having this conversation with me, because actually it's giving me some light
Like,
bulbs.
yeah.
And I think that those lives,
Mhm.
Facebook lives, or these things that are coming,
Mhm.
have to come more from that experiential
Yeah.
uh, place, rather than from talking of what I know.
And that lends itself to leaning into your intuitive side, which you're being coached to do, and trusting yourself. And so in the preamble, I said something that I thought was quite clever, where you know that you know what you know, and now you start using it. And so I can relate to this so much, because as I said, I love to use presentations. I love to have tools to, as a security blanket, to then deliver. But yet this conversation is completely not planned, not presented. It's happening very intuitively in live time. It's coming from somewhere deep within. And so it shows that we have that ability within us, and then the security blanket becomes the other person, which we can be activated and engage and exchange. But through practice, we can continue to improve that skill by doing it, like a baby learning to walk.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a matter of doing it. And I think that that's at the end of the day, you got to jump in the pool if you want to learn to swim, right?
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Unless there's some like virtual reality experience,
You know what?
but it wouldn't work in the ocean.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. They're probably going to come up with that. The way the technology is improving and moving, you know what? Pretty soon we'll be able to learn to swim virtually.
Beautiful thing. And I really want to pull out, like, Batista just dropped some incredible wisdom. So we have a couple of things that have happened in her life. The physical burning down of her dance studio. And it sounds like that was timed a little bit around you falling in love with your personal trainer and
No, it was
getting
before.
before.
It was, but don't ever call him a personal trainer, because
Uh-huh. Maybe I will edit that part.
no, actually he is an international body designer, and if
Yeah.
you know what that is, it could translate to like the architect
Yeah.
of the body. So if you had like you can go get a haircut, or
Right.
you can go to a designer,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
Or
mhm.
you have a builder that's going to build the
Yep,
house, or
yep,
you have the architect that's going to design the foundation.
that's
And
right.
that's what he does. And this is one of the reasons why the programs are so amazing and are
Mhm,
transformative and rebuild your body, and
yeah,
people get rid of the injuries. They don't know why all of a sudden they're
mhm,
young, they feel good, and they have no pain. Is because all the programs, while they are built and designed with the strength training tool, that means that you lift weight,
mhm,
okay,
mhm.
but they are designed in a way to put the body back into balance from the inside out.
That is yet another incredible transferable description of what I feel is going on in this conversation. Dance studio burns down. You meet, what's his name again?
Stephen
Steven.
Percy, also known as Dr. Fitness USA.
Then you meet Steven. Your life is starting to be transformed in ways that you didn't necessarily welcome, you didn't necessarily go out looking for, but somewhere some intention must have been planted to start this new trajectory. And it's been an ongoing journey into the unknown, and now is coming to a point of really putting all these pieces together to become the next, the it, or just the continuation, rather. I prefer a lot of that softer language, like people I follow, oh, become her, embody the next, the next. And it's like, we're where we're at until we're somewhere else. It's sort of like self-evolution is sort of like the aging process, right? Like it's for granted or inevitable and continuous. And so here you are at another fork in the road, if you will,
Yes.
but probably, I don't know if one of the biggest, but a very beautiful one where yet bigger things are opening up for you.
Yes, and the truth be told is aside from the physical aspect of the career, I have my professional life. My other passion has always been metaphysical science, spirituality,
Mm.
and that's a bit so, but really, it's kind of always been, here is my spiritual life, and this is my private life, and I don't
Over here.
talk about it.
Yeah.
And here is my professional life,
Yeah.
and this is what I do professionally. But there's never been um,
Over.
a merging of the two. It's kind of like,
Mhm.
my personal life is my business.
Mhm.
My spiritual, it's like I never talk politics to anybody. It's, you know what I mean? My
Sure.
spiritual life has always been my my personal life, and it's nobody else's business. I was brought up in a pretty dysfunctional Catholic family with a
Mhm.
lot of trauma, and I think that in a way that's why my whole life I blocked it, and I would not
Yes.
let anybody in.
Yeah, that
And
makes
I think
sense.
that, we come to a place of transformation, of planetary evolution, where things are really transforming. And I think that the world's event, the cosmic events are calling for integrating all the parts,
Yes.
as individuals, as and collectively, and it always starts with the individual, and then you grow to the collective, right? So I am feeling that this is a little bit of what's going on with me and my journey and this transformation. And it's kind of like, I'm 64 years of living two
Mhm.
lives. How to
Mhm.
bring it together to so that it translates into
Mhm.
something that people can receive, something like this. I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a, a deepening of who you are, of all of who you are, and of all of it having value, and of it being complementary, and like these dualities that are necessary in order to exist. Like I have this crazy talk about dualities that I want to record that talks about opposites, and the sort of um intent of it is to describe how opposites don't exist without each other, right? And they're necessary to each other. And so in that combination is where the ultimate power is. It's a bit like the Venn diagram of the three circles,
Yes.
and then where they all join in the middle. And the impact that that has versus any of them individually. So I am just like, woof, covered in goosebumps and so in awe and excited to watch what's going to unfold next, because I've known you as studious and very intellectual, and I would say that even just the femininity is coming out more and more now in
Mhm.
your essence, not even your physicality, but in your vibe, and that having that realization and now being open to explore it
Mhm.
will, bring forth obviously some resistance, but if you can anchor in and feel safe and you're supporting yourself, you have a coach, you have other, things in your life to help you. Plus, this connection that you've had to the body for your entire life, combined with Steve's incredible, like, the body design, the internal body design is a real holistic and full approach to kind of our human experience, where we're two in the head or we're two in the body or two in the heart. We find how to merge all those things together as you were just describing, and then see what new or more life can come out of them. And so here's where going live will help craft and practice, because it's going to be a different expression of all the things that were. And yeah, I'm just, I really encourage folks to get into your space now to see what's going to come from this, because there's clearly an entire library of incredible information. And look at her, she really is the proof of that knowledge. And now the intuition and how to serve people to their best benefit
Mhm.
is is going to be very impactful, very impactful. So we're always evolving. So this is, mindset, 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 but it's not even mindset. I think it drops into an even deeper place of sense of who you are and what is available, like what more is inside to come out, what more can be created from you. This one
Yeah.
coach I follow is a freaking popcorn machine. Like every day she has a new $2,000 offer coming out. I don't know how she does them all at once. Like, and I'm just like, oh my God. And she's so compelling. I want to buy all of them, but it's the ultimate self-expression. So like if we admire a celebrity, it's the ultimate self-expression of everything. And giving yourself that freedom to share it. And it doesn't have to be to a global audience, but to those who are out there. They are out there looking for what you have.
Yes, that your conversations bringing a thought to my mind is a lot of times people think about that intuition and creating from the inner being and all this stuff. And this is one thing that I have noticed through my journey into this strength training body design program is really observing that a lot of people live in their heads,
Yeah.
and especially women, because we are professional women, we are mothers, we are wives,
Hmm.
we, and all these are really masculine energy, right? Even being a mother is a masculine energy, because you got to give to the child, you got to protect the child. So we are really surrounded with masculine energy, and then with all the stress and what's happening in life. So a lot of women are really kind of stuck in their heads, in the
Hmm.
head. And what I've noticed is when a person is trapped in their head, they've kind of lost the connection to their inner being. And it's
Hmm.
very hard to make that bridge sometimes when you're trapped here. I mean, have you tried to meditate sometimes or something, and your head keeps going like this and you don't find
Yeah, the
the
hamster wheel, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I tell you one thing, and this is one thing that our students often refer to our program, kind of like a moving meditation, an active meditation. And I tell you
Hmm.
why. Because when you are under the weight and your body is supported, because everything is ergonomic and you don't do any things that are uncomfortable, that's one thing that we teach. When you're under the weight and you have to push the weight, you have to be very focused. You cannot have your mind wander. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so when you do the movements, there is an instant silence of the mind that happens. But there's also an incredible surge of energy, because I leg press 650 pounds. 650 pounds. Yeah,
Leg press.
leg press. Yeah, 650 pounds. So
Wow.
it's not hard. I'm not, you know, all of our students that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, even those who have very strong, like advanced osteoporosis, they leg press 400 pounds, easy, no pain.
Because you're threaded through to the inner, to what we are without our body, that energy source, the spirit, right? The abyss of the universe that you are beyond all of this.
Exactly. And it's that bridge that happens between the intellectual mind and the center of your being.
Mhm.
And without even talking about the endorphins and all
Yes.
the stuff
Yeah.
that floods your brain, you feel amazing, right?
Yeah.
But really, in a sense, it's that quietness of the mind and that
Mhm.
silence that happens. And now you can be in the center of your being, and now you can start creating and living, you know,
Mhm.
away from that and rebuilding that connection. I think this is one of the most powerful side effects of the program that we teach. And I believe that we need to reframe the concept of living from a creative space and intuitive space
Mhm.
until
Mhm.
we have addressed the fact that most people are disconnected. Their head and their center
Yeah.
of their being is disconnected.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's this commercialization, oh, I'm gonna say it, of intuition. Oh,
Yes.
come and we'll do an intuitive and this and that. And you're right. This is what we were talking about with the Zen diagram of the meeting in the middle
Mhm.
of all the things that are a part of that, instead of, just utilizing one of them, of bringing them together and harmonizing them into a complete force. Absolutely. When
Yeah.
you described the pushing, the connection of the mind dropping into the body on the 650-pound leg press, I felt something inside of me go, poof, and I could just feel what
Yeah.
that would be, because there's this like, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it mindset energy to, my muscles are strong, like the bull in the china shop energy. And then there's this supernatural of, we're going to work together and achieve this as one.
Yeah. It, yeah, exactly. And a lot of women especially say, well, why do I have to lift weight? Why do I have to
Mhm.
do this anyway? Why do I don't want to be bulky? I don't want this, I don't want that. But they don't realize that these are all myths, okay?
Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
reason why you have to lift weight and in some exercises lift heavy weight is because you got 30, 40, 50 years of conditioning of the body that have formed in a way where the posture goes off, where this goes off, that,
Mhm.
and you don't reframe, you don't rebuild the structure of the body with 5 pounds weight. It's not going to happen. You got to get that
The
push.
resistance, the discomfort to get the change.
You got to do it, and trust me, it's not even uncomfortable. It feels really good. But
Mhm.
also, in a simple way, just talk about osteoporosis or even
Mhm.
things like this, where they the research now is behind it that you do have to do strength training to rebuild bone mass. But people think that they can take a walk and it's going to prevent osteoporosis. It's not. All
Mhm.
right. And we have a show, the Dr. Fitness USA show, where we educate on the topic. We interviewed recently a doctor, and he explained the connection between strength training versus yoga, Pilates, walking, and what it does to the brain. And he was explaining that when you do yoga, walking, swimming, and all these things, it works the back part of the brain, right? But when you do strength training, it works the frontal cortex of the brain. And that is
Mhm.
the part of the brain that is responsible for integrating all the synapses in the brain. that means that if you don't do strength training and just yoga and other things, it's kind of like being in the woods. You have your fire, you're ready, but you don't have anything to ignite the fire and start it. So you
Mm-hmm.
have all these components that you're doing, but the brain is not connecting. And this is responsible for emotional intelligence, for
Mm-hmm.
example, for clarity, focus, but also research show now that it prevent or even reverses Alzheimer, dementia, and things like that. So see, I love research. I love finding out all these things, and I always go because people have to know. People have to know. You know, I saw an article in Fox News how to prevent dementia and Alzheimer, and it says eat well, sleep well, and exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
but they don't tell you got to do strength training.
Well, and it doesn't talk about the deeper metaphysics of actually healing the body. It's just like, cheap carbs. It's just a non-nutritious filler to what's really going on. So this now begs the question from me, is there going to be some changes in your health regime for you to further activate and merge your body and mind, your intellect and intuition, and the expression of that?
Are you asking me personally?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So absolutely. I'm an avid meditator. I do that regularly. I started a practice 2 years ago. Well, actually, I started this practice 10 years ago, but I've been on and off. It's a practice that's similar to Qigong, but it's called Qingdao, but it's a practice. It comes from the Shaolin temples. It's a practice that's not very known. There's, I think, only one or two teachers in the world that teaches, and I was very fortunate to meet that gentleman 10 years ago.
Wow.
And so I am definitely taking that more seriously now because it is very profound. And
Mm-hmm.
so I am embracing that practice more deeply at this
Mm-hmm.
time as a more of a priority, and also obviously increasing self-care in general,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
like many entrepreneur women, sometimes self-care falls through the cracks.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more beautiful and simple than a massage or taking the time to just pamper yourself and
Mm-hmm.
just to really get into that balance. And that
Mm-hmm.
is definitely something that I am making a commitment to myself,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of the workload, because the workload is humongous.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah. Yeah. I
and
mean,
it's
you can
always,
build a pyramid, but it's going to take time, right? So give yourself some space to enjoy the journey, right?
you have
Yeah.
to, and I'm guilty sometimes. I write about it, I preach it. I, you know what I mean? It's
As
kind
I
of
say, not
what
as
I
I
say,
do.
right? But
Yeah.
a lot of times I don't, just a simple thing, drink more water and just self-care in general. I think it's just has to be a priority.
Well, and that self-care is, creating space to, I don't know if even relax is the right word, but just to put things down, to just put things down and to slow down. And, for me, this conversation is very much a self conversation because it's very relaxing, and yet it hits so deep in my core that I get fed, I get energized, but I'm sitting here, I don't need to be doing anything, and I'm enjoying it. I'm going to carry it through for the rest of the day, the week, and ever, because it leaves a little spot in my heart. And so it doesn't even have to be an appointment or another thing on the list, right? This is what we're
Yes.
saying. That's
Yes.
self, and it's not even necessarily a face mask, but sitting with eyes closed or just having a hot coffee outside or, just soft, just something soft and slow.
Absolutely. Oh, you see, I'm coming down already.
Um, I felt my whole body change.
Yeah, no, yeah, that was great. I was gonna like you. Yes.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Batista, I'm in your world. I'm going to stay in your world. I'm so excited because you have such a powerful energy and like literally you're glowing. And it's exciting to me to see us like this is why I love startups is that infancy stage of bursting into the next development,
Mhm.
right? Of
Mhm.
why I love gardening so much. From a seed in the dirt to dinner on my plate. Like it's so tangible, even if we can't see it in the moment.
Yes.
And again, it's always evolving more, and it's a beautiful thing to witness. And listeners, I've found that the most powerful times to come into somebody's space is when they're on the verge of a new expression of themselves, when they're on an expansion, because you get sucked up into that vortex and it activates in you co-regulate those energies, and whether your fields are the same or not, just following people who are really committed or just acclimatized and embodied in their evolution will give you fuel to continue your journey.
Absolutely. And on that note, I want to tell your audience that I am starting a women's group, and
Mm,
it's called the Natural Menopause Formula by
uh-huh.
Feminine Body Design. As a matter of fact, I have a sign right there. And
Cool.
this, yep.
Yeah.
And this is a space that I want to create for women, and specifically women 40 and up, because there's a transition that happens at that age
Mhm.
that is sometimes very uncomfortable, because the body starts changing, the hormones start changing, a lot of things happen to the body that can take you for a spin. And I've experienced it, and I've come out of it, I've learned from it, and I know what to do, and I have some real answers. But I think women need to come together, as a support group. And of course, the group will also involve body design.
Yeah.
Because it's
Amazing. Amazing. Well, I'm going to join that right away and I'll include it in the episode description. At 41, I've definitely noticed things changing in my body at like lightning speed. And like we were saying, my mind is going, what? And my body's like, ha ha
absolutely, it starts around 40. That's perimenopause. So
ha.
there's 3 stages of menopause:
Yeah.
perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. And each one of them have their own things
For sure.
happening.
For
But
sure.
when you start strength training, and specifically body design, when you are in the beginning of that stage, 40, then you're going to be very happy. Your body is going to be very happy when you get to the 50s, when the
Mhm.
hormones really drop. And
Mhm.
if you don't know, 1 out of 2 women over 50 has osteoporosis. Okay.
Yeah.
And,
Because of
and
the hormone changes and
yeah,
not
yeah,
like
yeah.
proactively managing that.
But understand that there's no requirement to be tested for osteoporosis until 65. But what
Mhm.
they don't tell you, you need to build your bones like money in the bank. You got to
Yeah.
start at 40. Well, you got to start as a teenager, actually. uh, Ladies, gentlemen, if you have kids, okay,
Mhm.
get your kid in strength training, because bone mass and muscle mass peaks at age 18 for women and 20 for men. And after that, if you don't do strength training, weightlifting, resistance training, something to really build and keep your bones and your muscle mass, it diminishes by 10% every decade. So
Yeah.
in your
From
20s,
20. So by age 50, that's a 30% decline and all the other physiological changes.
exactly, exactly. Diabetes, glucose is contained in the muscles.
Right, right.
If you don't have muscles, where does it go? In your
Yeah.
body. Diabetes.
Huge.
Hey, I
So,
write about that. So follow
yeah,
me and go read my articles because I have the science behind it. I do the research
that's
and
right.
you can get the facts. So we can be woo-woo and talk about the intuition, the spirituality. It's all good and it's coming, you guys. But for your health,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta do it.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta do it.
Well, you know your stuff. You're living proof of it, and you're so passionate about it. You're so like it, you just can't not. It's so beautiful, and that makes you such an expert to share that message with the world, right? And to lead by example. So you're leading yourself as an entrepreneur. You're leading yourself as a woman evolving and pursuing her expansion, and then you're leading others to take the best care of ourselves that we can and share that. So then we're all building this rhythm, this collective momentum together to make life, more balanced and enjoyable everywhere through the ages. It's absolutely fantastic. Batista, you are just a dream come true. This is such a beautiful conversation. I hope that, perhaps we have more in the future. It would be wonderful. And we'll include all of the information that she shared so you guys can go and dig deeper and then come hang out with us in her group because I'm 41, I'm feeling the menopause stuff happening. And I fully trust Batista to guide me through it. I don't even need to think about anybody else.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. You're just such a dream come true. Oh, you froze.